Hello and welcome to this very special interview. Joining me today in our series is Vijay Chandok, who is a veteran financial services professional, spent many years in the financial services space. He's the managing director at ICICI Securities. This series is brought to you by Bombay Stock Exchange Investor Protection Fund, and we seek to educate you in what you can do when you're investing in the markets. Thanks very much, Vijay. Always a pleasure talking to you. My first question to you is...
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vivek.
We've seen a lot of excitement among Indian citizens to invest in our markets over the last few months directly. And I'm sure you've seen a similar traction on your platform, which is the biggest in the country. The big question everybody has is, how do I pick the right stock? So if you could answer that for us.
Well, thank you very much, Vivek. That's the simplest question and probably to ask and probably the toughest answer for me to give. But let me give you a honest attempt to answer that question. I think people who have approached markets in a more organized manner have followed two main methods of identifying stocks. One is called technical analysis of shares and the other is called the fundamental analysis of shares. So these are two mother frameworks that people follow for the purpose of identifying and picking stocks. So under the technical framework, what people do, what investors do, is do a time series analysis of volume of stock and the price of stock. And over a period of time, they study how volume and price has sort of played out. And based on that, they assess what could potentially be the direction and movement of stock. And based on a favorable position or an unfavorable position, people decide to buy or sell a particular stock. So that's one approach. It is a fairly mathematically intensive approach. Models have been made around it and people study these models and then follow that method of investing. Typically, people who follow a technical analysis method of investing and picking stocks tend to do it with a relatively shorter horizon. It is less than a year. So this is one framework which people follow for stock picking. The other framework which is very popular amongst investors is the fundamental analysis of stock. And under the fundamental analysis of stock, what people do are they identify a stock by studying the business model. What is the strength of the business model, the sustainability of the business model, the success factors of that industry and whether the business model actually enjoys the success factor or no. And then they support that business model study by looking at your balance sheet, your company's profit and loss account, financial ratios, and all these financial aspects of the company that you find in the annual reports are studied at length to understand the financial profile, efficiency ratios, profitability ratios, past growth ratios of the company. It's also important that for supporting stock picking, this analysis is supplemented by studying and projecting the future. So you need to also make an assessment of how the future is going to play out for that specific industry, for that specific company, and therefore what are the estimates of future profitability. So on the basis of all of that, you get a sense of what should be the right value of a share, and then you compare it with benchmarks in the industry, compare it with benchmarks which are peers, which are considered to be the company's peers, and see where the value stacks up vis-a-vis industry benchmarks, vis-a-vis peers, and then eventually take a decision for picking stock. So it is a lot of hard work, and there are experts who actually provide this kind of help to investors. So many investors like to do it themselves. There are many investors who like to reach out and seek special help for doing these assessments, and we would be very happy to provide through our platform those services to our investors.
Always a pleasure talking to you, Vijay Chandok. Thank you very much for joining us and sharing your perspective to educate our viewers and investors of this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vivek, and all the best to all the investors and the viewers.
Thank you.